Namaste. The second guest we have today is with us is Usha ji. She was the Director of Health and Safety in Pennzoil. Namaste Usha ji. Welcome to our show. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you for coming. So, if you can tell our audience the story of your life and your interactions with cow right from the childhood.
It will be a long story. I tell you that it'll be a long story. But I'll begin with my childhood in Delhi, India.
Sure.
I grew up in Old Delhi, where the first encounter with cows was really on the street, where you have to, in India, especially in the older part of Delhi, cows were left astray by the local farmers, and that was my first encounter. But to my big surprise, I never was scared of cows. Right. Even as a child, even as a 4, 5, 6-year-old girl, I was never scared. And then in my home, my nanny would often ask me to take the first roti that was made to offer to the cows. And I would go out to my archabutra, little platform in front of the house, and I would offer roti to the cows. Again, never felt threatened, never felt scared. Contrary to that, even a household lizard, a mosquito, a bug, a cockroach, everything would scare me. So from the very childhood, I knew that there was something special about cows. Right. And then I grew up, and as I grew up, started college, grew up to be a little young girl. In my family, my parents performed what's called Shraddh. And I saw my parents make offerings to cow. And that created some questioning in my mind. And I would ask my parents why. And I was 16 years old when I went to Muradabad and lived with my uncle for a year. And there they had a gaushala.
Muradabad which state mein hai?
Muradabad, Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
Uttar Pradesh. And I lived with them to complete a year of college. And that was one of the most beautiful experiences because in their house, in their garage, they had created a gaushala. And my mommy would milk the cows, and I would often go and do that with her.
Do you remember how many cows they had?
They had one, and while we were there, the cow delivered another bachya.
Nice.
And so that was a lovely experience. And maybe it's because I was of that age that's what got me to thinking the motherhood in cow that I saw. I saw how beautiful that this cow is now. The bachra is drinking fresh milk. And it told me all about my childhood where my parents were raising grandkids and say, "Gai ka doodh do bacche ko." They would not allow them to buy the Amul formula or some other formula. No, gai ka doodh. So it created some curiosities as to the value of cow milk as I was growing up. Then after a year in Muradabad, I came back to Delhi, returned to Delhi, and soon, 6 years later, I got married and moved to United States to join my husband in USA. And here, of course, any physical separation was lost. But as I was growing up, I became a little bit more knowledgeable. We did used to go to ISKCON in West Virginia and saw cows there. And I always felt very attached to the cows. So there's something very unique. When you look at a cow, it gives you that peace. It gives you that urge of love that you want to pet. You want to play with the cow, unlike any other animal that I lived or saw. Again, as I grew, I had my own children. I did focus on, whenever we would go to India, we made sure that we got the pure cow milk for them. So I value, I understand, I'm a chemist. Also in my education, so I was very inquisitive about the good healthy components of cow food and cow milk. One of the things that has always amazed me about cow is it eats the very fundamental, what I call dry tuna, meaning grass,
Yeah.
right? Nobody would, and yet it gives us the most nourishing meal.
Yeah.
That impressed me, and it motivated me that no matter where we are born, what we are, we can give more to the society, much more than what we are given. So it
Right.
motivated me and set very high ambitions for me, for my
Nice,
life.
nice.
Um,
The lessons to learn from cow, right? So gives
Lots
more
to
than
learn
take
from
more.
cow. The patience, the love, the compassion. And again, I remind again to my listeners and your listeners,
Yeah.
actually, that look at what the cow takes. The carbon footprint of a cow is an amazing footprint.
Yeah.
Even though there is some talk that cow dung and the waste produce greenhouse gases,
Yeah.
but when you look at the overall footprint,
Yeah.
what it takes, what it intakes, what it produces ultimately, it's an amazing life story.
So I think it goes back to the facts not being presented or marketed right or enough for them, right? Goes back to the
Can't say enough. I think and then and living in US, I've come across my children, I raised 2 children here, both wanting to have pets.
Yeah.
And we always stayed away. We said, look for a pet that you can really relish.
Yeah.
And you can relish them in the freedom of their environment. Go to a gaushala, go pet the cows there. Let's go there, do that. Let's go to zoo where they're at least still not in their natural environment, but do not bring pets home and make them slaves for your pleasure. So again, I don't mean to shift to why we shouldn't have household pets, but I think that having a cow as a pet is the most beautiful thing that any young child can have, got to learn from. Again, having gained some years and spending some time, especially post-retirement, in last 10, 12 years, I have focused a little bit on studying scriptures also.
Yeah.
And I want to understand I've heard that human beings have a cow life before they become human beings. This is not to dispute Darwinian theory by any means. I'm a scientist, folks, and I know what Darwin said, but conscious-wise, as a yoni, as the migration that takes place, a cow becomes, and that tells you why cow's milk is the closest to mother's milk. There are many convincing arguments as to why cows mean so humanly, so loving to us.
The breeds which were in India versus the breeds which were in US, were they different, and did you feel the difference between?
I felt the difference. Again, my exposure directly to cows was whenever we went to India, we always went to places where there were cows. So the Indian cows had the little hump, were either multicolored spotted cows. Over here, when we would go, we would take our children to the farms or to the rodeos, to wherever we could see live animals. Those cows did not have that kind of demeanor, even the pleasantry. You didn't feel that comfortable going close to them. There was indeed a very what I call metabolic difference that I felt.
Like, why is it important to care about cows so much? Like, did you feel something different? Did your life change? Did you have an experience? Would your life have been different, you think, if you were not to interact with cows so much?
Well, I think that the very fact that I found at least some living animal that I could easily embrace and touch and be comfortable was provided me the comfort, because I had often wondered, why am I so scared of even the little lizard? Or, is it me? Am I that biased? And I soon realized that no, I think it's the beauty and the humility and the love I feel in the cows. And yes, I do. I I say that because part of it is what you see, because you see the cow's life being so useful. And contrary to other encounters of animals, elephants are also very humble, very sweet animals, but they're so huge.
Hard to
and they're so
have
hard to
them.
come by.
You can focus on one thing, you can pinpoint that one thing that changed in your life because of cows.
I've tried to give gazes like cow. Honestly, if it may sound funny, but if you look into a cow's face, it's the most calming gaze. And this is why people go to mountains, to rivers, because you need a non-judgmental gaze.
Yes.
You don't
That's so
want to
true.
be judged by nature, and nature doesn't judge you.
No,
That's
no.
why we feel peaceful,
Yeah.
and you get that benefit
No.
from a cow gaze.
I think, as you said, the gist of it is that the interaction with cows, as much as we can have, I mean, the breed matters, but the interaction is important, right?
Absolutely. I am working hard in trying to take my grandchildren to Gaushala. We are very fortunate that in Houston there is a Gaushala that Abhinav ji has started, and it's very accessible, and they make it very accessible to public, and therefore I think it's I think having a Gaushala in an area, a community, should become integral to every
Hopefully.
community.
Yes. So I think hopefully the viewers got the why is it important to have a cow out of this, and this should encourage more people to have their own Gaushala. So that is the intent.
I would say that.
Thank you so much, Usha ji, for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the opportunity you gave me to share my life. Thanks.
Thank you.